what do we have here? This is something, I don't know, maybe you can read this for me. Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment, otherwise known as DDA. This is something that I've talked about at length in at least one video prior. I got a lot of blowback of people saying that either they don't think it really exists, it's some mythical, thing that's not really in the game. But when you go ahead and you slide over here, what do you see? The current assignee, Electronic Arts. Original assignee, Electronic Arts. That means that this right here, what you're looking at right here, is the Google patent for DDA in Madden 19. So basically the point of this video, it's not a gameplay like it typically is. This is basically, I'm going to go over these documents you're seeing right here, and I'm going to tell you how, DDA exists. You know what I'm saying? I put out a video just kind of having fun, poking fun at it. A lot of people really kind of got back at me and like left some nasty comments, like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I got to put this to bed. This is going to be the last video I do on this topic. I'm not doing it to call out EA, or I'm not doing it to expose EA. You know what I'm saying? That's not the point of this now. The point of this now is to basically go at the people that went at me when I put out a video about this, thinking that I either didn't know what I was talking about or I was full of crap. So this video will be the last one I do. Hopefully there's not any negative comments. Hopefully I put this to bed right now. And I'm going to show you in this video how every single problem in Madden 19 and Madden 18, because I think it's been out since 2017 in the game, every single problem that you see that is created in this game, whether it's how people play cheesy online or the gameplay itself constantly BSing you, it all comes from this. This is the origin. This is the origin of evil. This is greed at its finest. That's what this is about. EA's greed is making this game toxic, and I'm going to prove all that in this video. So let's just go ahead and let's get right into it. Welcome back, YouTubers and Madden fans. This is Madden Money Shot, bringing you another expose video. I don't know, maybe this is a tip video. I'm not entirely sure. I don't typically do videos like this, and I never really intended to do this particular video. This all started, I put out a gameplay video where I just had some, I thought it was just fun commentary, poking a little bit of fun at something that I thought we all pretty much accepted existed in DDA. But I was really shocked at the amount of blowback that I got from several things. Number one being the existence of DDA. Number two being, a lot of people really defended EA, to be honest with you. Number two being the amount of people that attacked the way that I played the game and the way that the majority of people play the game realistically, because the majority of people play the game the same way. So in this video, I'm pretty much going to go over both of those things and try to prove that they both come from the exact same place, the same origin, which is DDA. DDA basically forces both of these issues, and it's all comes from the same place, which is greed. EA's greed. They're known for their greed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how people can defend this company based off of the numerous, black marks that they have on the record, whether it's the Battlefront incident, which, if you guys don't know, was basically when they put out Battlefront 2. Just through the beta alone, a shortened beta that came out before the game came out, they were found out to have such an aggressive loot box system that they almost made it impossible to level up your character without buying stuff. They're so well known for basically treating their customers, like walking wallets, that they've actually won a consumerist award, which is the worst company in America, twice, being the only company ever to win that. If you don't know, consumerist is basically a division of Consumer Reports. So basically what they're doing is going off of you and my opinion. They don't have any vendetta against EA. You know what I mean? It's not just video games that they're going after, because the number 2 runner-up was Bank of America. So they're going off of what we say as consumers. You know what I mean? It's not their own opinions. It's our opinions. And they're giving them the award of worst company in America 2 years in a row, which has never been done. Nobody's ever won the award twice. They're getting that based off of you and my opinion. And if you look at some of the competition, they even have like a tournament style bracket of how the voting went down. If you even look at some of these other companies, you can't deny it. I hate Comcast. It's no shock to me that they came in Final Four, because they're so greedy. Like, if I could go on for another entire video based off of how they've screwed me with my cable bill, but I'm not going to do that because that's not the point. But you can tell by some of the companies on this list that it's 100% true. But ultimately, if you're watching this video, you want to see evidence. That was the point. That's what people wanted a lot of the times in the comment section. Some people, I even had some know-it-all people that were like, there's nothing to support this. Well, maybe you should do a little research, because it didn't take me very long to find the exact patent written and designed by EA, Electronic Arts Studios. You know what I'm saying? It didn't take me but a couple swipes of the keyboard to find this. So realistically, we're going to go over that in great detail. Before I get too far into this, though, I just basically want to state that the point of this video is no longer to really hate on EA about it. That's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is to prove the people in my comment section that were talking all that mess that they are wrong and that I was right. So let's continue forward here. Ultimately, this is a lot of technical jargon, so I'm just going to basically sift through some of the more important sections, but realistically, I have a really good video breakdown of some of this as well that another YouTuber put out, and I'm going to go ahead and show some of that. Now, I've isolated one particular section of a guy's live stream where he was basically showing a person who doesn't even play Madden's breakdown of this particular patent right here. So what it's going to be is him talking about that person's video.
You'll never play Madden the same again.
Seems to be a particular focus on how different outcome combinations of matches around for the next match and keep playing a game. There seems to be a particular focus on how different outcome combinations of matches can affect something they called churn risk, or the risk that a player will disengage from the game or stop playing the game for a period of time. In this table, we are shown which combinations of wins, losses, and draws from the last 3 matches are the least likely to disengage players, and all of this is based on data collected from a, quote, popular PvP game made by EA. The short of it is that with this algorithm, games will be able to calculate the risk that players will stop playing and adjust parameters to reduce that risk. So if a player loses a few matches in a row, the game might decide that the churn risk has increased, so the next match might be artificially set up to result in a win.
When this shit is written,
wins a bunch of matches in a row, the game might throw a wrench in that streak by artificially setting up the next match to result in a loss, because that might keep them playing the game for longer. This, ladies and gentlemen, is psychological manipulation at its finest. Now consider for a moment how this might all play into EA's monetization schemes. And yes, make no mistake, while the word engagement might be the emphasis of both the dynamic difficulty adjustment patent and the engagement optimized matchmaking patent, I have little doubt that a big goal with these manipulative systems is to maximize the monetization potential of video game microtransactions. EA's greedy intent is even laid out clearly in the conclusion section of the Engagement Optimized Matchmaking Framework research paper, which has an excerpt that reads, quote, EOMM provides a measurable and flexible matchmaking framework. It has well-defined quantitative objectives that can be monitored, evaluated, and improved. Within the EOMM framework, the core building components, skill model, churn model, and graph pairing model are uncoupled so that they can be tuned and replaced independently. Moreover, we can even change the objective function to other core game metrics of interest, such as playtime, retention, or spending.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The root of all evil, it's always about money. It's always about spending. You know, the loot boxes and buying packs, they're the exact same thing. And there's actually a legal battle going on where companies have, not companies, but governments have decided that that this is basically gambling, and they're trying to get this to a point where they can you know, it is gambling. I mean, you're not getting what you want. Anytime you're spending money on something and you're not getting what you want, it's technically gambling. Already, Belgium's gaming committee already, you know, considered it such. Our Hawaii state representative by the name of Chris Lee is trying to get legislation going so that minors can't buy these things, but those will get their parents to buy it anyway. But it's the truth. It's gambling. Because EA knows that if they were to sell you directly what you want, majority of the time, that's going to be it. If you could buy your favorite player, say $10 for, you know, a full Randy Moss, that's it. You're going to buy him and that's it. But like I said, I've spoken to people in my comment section that spend, you know, close to $1,000. I know people that spend more than $1,000 on their team, and they don't get, you know, they don't necessarily get the exact thing that they want. They work it the way that they do into something of value. But realistically, if I could just put $10 down and get Michael Vick, I might do that, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's way cheaper than $1,000 of constantly buying packs and trying to get what you want to get. But realistically, like I said, one of the guys I was talking to in the comment section said that he spent $800 in packs, and he had an 89 overall team. I asked him, what's your overall? He said 89 overall. I have a 90 overall team, and I haven't spent $1 on this game this year other than buying it. So to me, if somebody's spending $1,000 more than me, they should get a much better team. Not only that, but realistically, you know, the way that the sliders work, and I'm gonna go over that here in a minute, to basically make your team, you know, either better or worse than a team anyway, you're not even seeing the value of that. Even if you have a better overall team, it can be taken away from you in the algorithm about the show. So this here is a lot of technical jargon. I'm not going to go over it too specifically, but the one thing that I was reading up on that is probably the most is the most troubling is penalties. Basically, if you try to read some of these, simpler ones here, which is a prediction model generator and whatnot, they say that basically they associate a penalty with at least some or one of the more predictive models. So basically, when they're saying they're giving a penalty to the user, that means like for this game, your receiver's not going to be able to catch, or for this game, your quarterback's going to be horrifically overthrowing the ball, or for this game, you're going to be fumbling all the time. You know what I'm saying? They basically, whenever they match you together with who they want to match you together with, which in itself is a process where they're basically putting you into certain groups. Which it was in one of these, they basically stated that they're putting every user into their own little category. And somewhere I saw that one of the categories is if you're a money spender, if you spend money on this game, they pair you with some of the best players because they want you to face some of the best players out there so that you continue to spend to try to beat those guys. And that's something that they compared this patent to the patent in COD, which was basically in the COD patent was the same thing. They had lobbies with these killers, and then they brought in these noobs so that basically they would try to let them see what they're playing against and try to spend money to improve their chances of winning against these guys. So it's not necessarily, none of these practices are necessarily unique to EA, but since my channel is a Madden channel, I'm obviously putting time and effort into that. Now, earlier in the video, I also said how I was going to relate this, or how this relates to how people play the game. A lot of people complained in one of my comment sections about how I played the game, and my rationale was, why should I play a game with honor when the game is constantly trying to rob me? And I think that's the mentality that a lot of people take. I mean, when you're playing against somebody or you're playing against a system that's relatively fair and balanced, you use a wider selection. You don't necessarily feel the need to go down to just the few plays that that works. You know what I'm saying? You typically, it's like playing a fighting game. I mean, if you're playing like Mortal Kombat or something like that, it's more fun to mix in combos and do all kinds of stuff. But if you're playing against somebody that's really extensively cheap, like a cheap boss or something like that, you eventually become somebody that just does this. If you go back far enough that you played the original Mortal Kombat, you know that you went up like this sliding ladder scale of fighters, and eventually you got to these predictive boss battles where it's almost like they were just cheesing the hell out of you. No matter what attack you did, they'd basically block it and counter it, and they would just mess you up real quick to the point where you basically had to do this the entire time to finally guarantee yourself a win. And that's kind of what the Madden community looks like right now. Of course it's not fun to do this. Of course it's not fun to play a game this way. You know what I'm saying? It's way more fun to have variety and run different plays and stuff like that. But you get chances to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's not always like that where you have to basically use only a handful of plays because the game just feels like it's crashing down on you. Just think of all Madden. You know what I'm saying? All Madden, if you play all Madden solo battles like the majority of people do, you really only run like 2 plays because the solo battles system, all Madden in particular, is so cheap and cheesy, the way that it constantly tries to screw you out of moments in games, that you're basically left with that. But of course, if you play like a lower difficulty, like an all-pro, where the game's not trying to screw you as much, you're going to have a much more variety in the games that you play. So to me, once again, DDA is the cause. And it's because the difficulty spikes so much that your opponent all of a sudden has, defenders playing their zones so wide and predictive, it's to the point where you're like, man, I better tighten up and run the exact plays that I know that works, to the point where, that's basically all you run. You know what I'm saying? If the game was more on an even keel and it didn't get to these situations, people would have more style and they would use different plays more often. But either way, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to tell EA how to run their business, because truth of the matter is that's what they're doing. They're running a business. From their perspective, if you think about how much money it costs to have a patent, an official license with the NFL, you have no idea how much that costs EA. And I almost understand why they do this, to try to make more money, to try to appeal to the masses. Because let's face it, I mean, if you know anything about DirecTV's contract with the NFL, their NFL Sunday ticket, that costs every person. I read an article about this once. Every single person that has DirecTV is paying towards that that NFL Sunday ticket, whether they want it or not, whether they're using it, whether they're purchasing or not. It is written into their bill because it is such a fat check that they have to pay to the NFL to do that. It's to the point where they have to basically rob their customers because they wouldn't have a license otherwise. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. To do exclusive business with such a huge corporation like the NFL, such a huge money-making industry like the NFL, it's a necessary evil. And the same thing can be said with Star Wars. I mentioned Star Wars Battlefront earlier in the game. You know how much money is tied up into the Star Wars franchise? How much money did Disney just pay to get the rights to that? I mean, that's huge. So it's to the point where the loot boxes thing is almost as necessary evil, just to pay, you know, the people that own that so they can have these rights. So it's like I said, I put all this information out. It's not really meant to demonize Madden or even disagree with it to a certain extent. I mean, ultimately I still enjoy the game. I don't really care what they do, but to an extent they have their side to it as well, and I'm sure that that's kind of what it is. And ultimately I'm doing this because I think it'll make the game better. That's what I want. This is my wish list for Madden 20. Sometimes I think EA's model is a little bit more short-sighted, and I think the long-term view of getting people not to rage quit this game permanently is probably the better way to go. But hey, what do I know? I've only been playing this game for like a quarter of a century, since I was probably like a couple years old. So if they can't take my feedback as a lifelong consumer and somebody who has dedicated their life to, basically making videos about this game at this point, I don't know what to say. I mean, I think that I'm the perfect person to listen to the point where I had to do this. But I'm not doing another video. This is the last part. This is it. I'm not doing another one. I don't care what people say in my comment section. I think that I've put together my swan song. I put together as much information that you cannot dispute in a video as somebody humanly possibly could. So this is it. If you want to see more, videos of this nature, not necessarily about this topic, let me know, in the comment section. Hit the like button. Other than that, I will try to put links to the first two parts in the description below, so you can see how the origin of this came about. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Other than that, thanks for watching Madden Money Shit Out.
You'll never play Madden the same again.
Need more help or just want to show your support? Then head over to my Patreon and join my team, where you can get exclusive content like ebooks and bonus plays, as well as early access to my vids and more. Link in the description below.